Hello and welcome to Difficult Conversations. My name is Wilda. I'm your host today, and today we're going to continue our conversation about what shall I tell my children in regards to race and social justice. And I know last week we found out that talking about race, it can be sensitive, and yes, it can be very messy, and choosing whether or not to talk to your children about the race is an option that many people of color don't have with their children. So let's hear what our panelists will talk about today. And I'll hand it over to Bianca, who will be our moderator this afternoon. Enjoy. Hi,
Hello and good
Bianca.
afternoon. Hi, Miss Wilda. Thank you very much again for giving me this task. I've been blessed by it, and I hope these conversations will continue. And it's going to be very interesting to hear what a lot of the panelists, the moms that we have here online. Last week, we were speaking about how to interact with your children when it comes to the issues of social justice, in regards to social justice. And as our panelists come in, I hope during the week you did practice teaching your children a little bit about your history. As immigrants and Black people in this country, it is our duty to teach our children their roots. And that way they'll be able to pass it generation to generation. So I guess we can start with Miss Sophie, and I'll see as they're coming in. How are you, Miss Francisca, Dr. Francisca?
I am good. How
Good
are
to see
you?
you again.
Good to see you too.
Good afternoon, Miss Sophie. Hi, Miss Tate. How are you?
Good
Nice to see you
afternoon. Good
again.
afternoon.
And Miss Brana Sibanda, how are you doing today? Very good. Very good to
I'm
see you,
okay. Good
ladies.
afternoon. Thank you.
Very good to see you. So these ladies are very pumped up, and I hope you all had a good week and a good 4th of July holiday. And as you were discussing race around your kitchen tables, let's see what other words of wisdom these wonderful ladies sitting here with us today have. So I'll start with Miss Sophie and revisit what we did last week about letting our children into our past. Can you expound a little more about teaching our children about our past?
Oh, thank you, Bianca. Again, I'm privileged to be here. I had the opportunity to also learn from my fellow mothers last week, and I am thrilled. And I'm looking forward to what we have in our discussion today. So last week we were actually trying to look at if it's important to let our children know our roots and our past. I had an illustration. I had an illustration here, uh, and for me, that is one thing I will really advocate that our kids are well versed from where we have come from, the challenges that our forefathers have had to go through. Collectively, as a community, there are those that God has anointed to do the works of moving fights forward, civil rights movements, and all these liberties that we have been able to achieve due to those people that put their lives forward. And we were able to have the liberties, going to school and stuff like that. In this illustration here, we have this Black man, George McLaurin, the first Black man admitted to the University of Oklahoma in 1948. But his name remains on the honor roll as one of the 3 best students of the university. Wow. And I wanted to use his words. His words are written there, his own words. What is
Okay, I believe we have a little bit of a technical issue, but we'll revisit her when she comes back. No, not a problem. I mean, we do understand, everybody is home now. In any of our homes, we we face the issue of Wi-Fi, but we'll work through it. So, Miss Sibanda, you're from the southern part of Africa where racism was really a big issue. Your neighbors down there, up there with South Africa, and a lot of slur words, and you guys had interaction with the Boers and all that. How did you manage when people insulted you as the African blacks versus the whites? How did people as a community react? And did you personally, you and your family, or even you personally, face when someone just came up to you outrightly and called you, here they would call you a nigger, or black, or whatever slur they would choose? Can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
Okay, maybe I should start by explaining that racism was all over in the Southern Africa, not only South Africa, but in the Southern Africa. I grew up in then Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe. And we had, in Zimbabwe, we had the Rhodesians, and then in South Africa, the Afrikaners. So these, we're the same people, basically, but living in different countries. And,
Yeah.
their actions and like that were similar. You'll find that, for example, my father used to work under this white man, and he was called boy, even if he was above, during that time he was above 40 or 50 years old. He could not call him by his first name. And even his children, the boss's children, my father used to call the boss, or master, and that was the name, or Mr. Johnson. I'll just give a name. But my father was called boy, regardless of his age. And sometimes when they want to respect you as you're old, they'll just say, hey, old man. No one will even bother to learn your name, because, or when it came to really where situations were bad, one will be called, here, come here, monkey, or baboon. Those were the names that were assigned to blacks and things like that. Women were called girl, or anything someone would think of, any name they would think of, not even bothering giving, using your first name. You asked a question, did I ever? Yes, I was a young girl when we were still teacher. Around 13. I think when we got, we really got our independence. It was when I was really, old enough to be able to feel it and experience it. I remember one time we were walking on a tarmac coming from school, and we didn't know that we're not supposed to walk on the tarmac, only in the dust, on the dirty road. So this young man comes and pushes us out of the tarmac. And we wondered why. And because we were young, we were 7 of us, we attacked him. We really, at the 7 girls, we attacked him. And that really erupted a war, the whole township, because the police were called, everything. But unfortunately, he could not identify the girls who beat him up. Guess what? I only met him 2 years ago, and I reminded him of that. And he started laughing about it. But during that time, because we didn't also know that this was a master's son, we are not supposed to touch him. And also he was acting out of his knowledge that we're not supposed to walk on the tarmac. So you see, these are some of the experiences that I had. I have many of them, but this is one of them that really came to my mind as we're asking.
So from your experience, you viewed him and he viewed you a certain way based on the biases that he had, or the way he had formerly grown up. Because these things, I always say, racism is taught. Nobody is born being a racist. Nobody is born hating another person. These are things that are learned. And I believe they can be unlearned as well. So ladies, but let's talk about your implicit biases. Your own personal biases, do they actually fit in with the way you raise your children or how you tell them to respond to things? And is there a way of separating your own biases and just letting a child be their own person? And anyone can take it away. We can start.
Uh, um, let me jump in there quickly.
Hmm.
I'm sorry I got disconnected, but
Oh, you're
listening
good.
to my sister Rona there, I was actually wanting to echo her same words in line with Mr. George. I had indicated this is the first Black man who was admitted to the University of Oklahoma in 1948. Highly mistreated, but these were his words as he was in that university. If I can have that illustration up there. So this is what he says. He says, some colleagues could look at me like I was an animal. No one could give me a word. The teachers seemed like they were not even there for me, nor did they always take my questions when I asked. But I devoted myself so much that afterwards, they began to look for me to give them explanation and to clear their questions. You have something to offer. Don't look down on yourself. Say, I can make it. Come on, let go. I get highly inspired with situations like this. In other words, racism hasn't begun today. You can imagine when you look at that illustration, he's clearly sitting in a corner, and however he's explaining, no, he's asking questions, no teacher, nobody is trying to show any form of concern. But he remained devoted to the call of his heart and pursued, he put his focus on his vision, and his name is what we are reading up even up to today. So I wanted to echo that and be like, if like my sister Rona there is saying, even if they are calling you names, looking at you like an animal, whatever they call you, let us encourage our children to remain focused, reassuring themselves, just like we were discussing last week. And yeah, they can. Yes, they can.
Yes. So, Miss Tate, when you're uh, in regard to your children, because they were born here, they're raised here, and you were married to an African American. Now, did you find yourself raising your children with your own biases, being an African, and trying, because now they had two cultures, they had your husband's and yours. Did you feel the need to hammer your culture down, hammer it over and over, time and time again, and with with your own biases as a
Yeah,
person?
of course. Yes, we
Hmm.
all have our own individual biases, and sometimes those biases come from how we raised, environments that we existed in prior to having our children, and sometimes it's based on the environment that we're in at that particular moment. So yes, I have my own biases from my culture back at home, and of course, it's very easy to try to enforce those, or really just force the kids to adapt to some of these biases that you have. And I have to say that a lot of times we have biases that we unconsciously are not aware that we have these biases. Some, they can be very unhealthy for how we raise our children. So I think that what's important is just keeping an open mind, and being aware that you have those biases, and if they're not good biases, then you have to get rid of them. And it's amazing how our children can teach us so much. Things as simple as, and I use this as an example, it's not a bias, but I'm just using this because it's reality. Like how we pronounce our vowels back at home, like the letter Z, for instance. Back at home we say it's letter Z, we don't say Z. And so that was probably one of my first education with my children, that these kids, they may know something that I don't know, because I'm here forcing my child to teaching him the alphabets and having him to say Z, and he's like, "Mommy, no, it's Z,
No.
it's not
Hmm.
Z." And so, yeah, so we can learn a lot from them. And there are many instances when I thought that I was doing the right thing by educating them about certain culture, but I had to learn that my children are born here. They're born here and they're not born in Kenya. I was born. And some of the education that we share with them may not necessarily be relevant, and we have to accept that. You know, there's a lot of good in a lot of cultures, and sometimes it's good to pick all of them and teach our children those cultures.
And I love that you touched on the subconscious. The subconscious can actually rule you most of
Yeah,
the time because it's something you don't keep thinking about. It just pops up and you do it and think because you're so used to doing something a certain way. Dr. Ramoni, how can we then, as a people, as parents, and as a people as a whole, have a more conscious outlook? How can we practice being more conscious when it comes to racial issues with our children?
So thank you very much for that topic. That's a very important topic because we need to be able to educate our children on how to handle racism around them or implicit biasness. We all have our own biases. Kids, when they are born, they have already their biases. So as a parent, it's your duty to try and mold your child in a way that they can understand and improve on their own cultural understanding. What do I mean by that? The kids, when they're born, they already have, if I'm their mother, they already see me as their mother all the time with black skin and all that. So that's all what they know. But then for me, as a mother, to improve that learning process, I have to be able to immerse them in my culture and the language and be able to teach them that, racism is not good and this is how you can tackle racism. And so, as a parent, what we need to do is talk to your children. Let your children know that bias exists. Let them know that this thing is there. Don't let us not shy away and talk to them like you're living in another planet. We are here and it's there. But how do we tackle bias? And as a parent also, you need to confront your own biases, and you need to model that behavior or that character you expect to see from your child. How do you respond to biasness around you? How do you respond to people who may be different than you? You need to encourage your child to confront or challenge the racial stereotype, and then be compassionate, be kind. We need to model the what we need our children to see or to do as parents. And then as a parent also, what you need to do is have a wide cultural diverse social network. Be able to encourage your kids to mix with diverse cultures, diverse people, so that the biasness can be able to be understood because they're among different people. They're just not among the same people every day. And one other thing is also you need to travel and expose your children around other communities. Talk to your children about history, your history, and the other people's history. Take leadership roles in your school, be involved, volunteer in your church, in your community, so that biasness goes away. By people interacting with you, they learn so much because we all of us have our own stereotype way, implicit biasness. When we go into a room, for example, we see somebody with a headscarf, we already have a bias against them. Maybe they are Muslims, maybe they are from Africa, but you don't know. Maybe it's just a fashion that person is having. And so it's very, very important for us to understand within ourselves, learn and understand what you are biased against. What are your biases? And then tackle them and work on them. And then educate your children how to face those biases within themselves and in the group they're in. And try and expose your children as much as you can so that they come to learn other people's cultures, other people's foods, how they do stuff, and why they do what they do.
Okay, and speaking on exposure, now when we're talking about exposure, that means now we're in North America or anybody who is abroad,
Mhm.
means you dive into the culture head first,
Yes.
meaning you adopt almost 96% of the culture. You change the way you talk, you change the way you dress, you change the way you relate to people. Now, as we expose ourselves to the communities, these other communities as Africans, first we're first generation, our kids are second. How can parents arm their children with the right tools to be able to sieve out the good and bad? because that becomes now a tricky issue where even though you're diving head first,
Mm-hmm.
how can the children pick up the good and bad? And anyone, mistake. Let's have a mistake. I think she has the oldest, the ones who were really born here,
Yeah,
who
I
had
think.
no exposure to the other side first.
Yeah, I think overall, we give our children tools at home to be able to survive out there. I mean, when we teach our children how to love and how to respect and how to honor, some of the values that many of us were raised in our culture about honoring adults, for instance. If you grew up in the communities that we grew up in, you know that even if you had anybody that was older than you was auntie. Anybody that is any female that's older that's around your mom is auntie, even if they were not family. And
Yes.
any male that's around your father, even if they're not related to you, they're uncle. I mean, you understand the dynamics here. So you raise with this respect for others. You raise to stand up when adults come in the room and you have a seat, you have to allow them to take the seat. You're raised to shake hands. I mean, in many of our African cultures, there's an issue of if an older person is, if you're shaking the hands of an older person, you kind of bow down a little bit, so
Hmm.
you come into this country and you keep those very strong values of respect. And when your children leave your house, they have that consciousness in their heads that they have to respect people around them. You teach them how to love. You teach them how to love one another. And you teach them how to love you, and you teach them how to love people around them. And you teach them to be aware that everybody will not treat them the same way they treat them as well, and love still has to prevail
Yeah.
regardless. So when they're in an environment where they don't experience love, then they have to choose to protect themselves the best way they can. I know an example where my son, when he turned 16, he was so proud to have his first job. And his first job was to pass out flyers for this lawn mowing company. So they went to an extremely affluent neighborhood. It was him and his Hispanic friend. And so they're passing out flyers around, and they're very, very innocent, clean kids, very articulate, go to good schools, have diverse friends. So they're not thinking about somebody who would treat us differently in this community. And somebody actually called the cops on that. So, and so they end up in the back of a cop's vehicle
Oh, wow.
because they're working, they're doing the right thing. They're working. They're trying to raise money so they can buy themselves clothes, things that 16, 17, 18-year-old kids like to do. And so thankfully, this cop was a good cop. And the cop told them, hey, somebody called us and we're here and we just want you to be careful while you're out here. So I'm thinking if my child did not know how to respond with respect and love, what would have happened to him that day? And he could have been lucky because there are a lot of kids who end up in that situation and they don't come back, they don't see their families the next day. So I think as long as we have we're teaching them to love, to respect, and to honor, that's a good start for them to be able to deal with what's out there.
So I'll just jump in and say something, what
Yeah.
Ms. Tate has just said. Yes, we
Hmm.
need to teach them love, respect, and honor. And just to add on that, it's important for us to teach them our history too. And as we are teaching them history, we're also giving them history about other people so that when they see those people out there, they understand where they come from, who they are, and why they look the way they look. And so I go back to saying that knowledge is power. We need to educate our kids. We need to be able to impart some knowledge about various and diverse communities. We just don't live in a bubble and just let them understand that we are Africans and this is how we do things. We need to explain to them why we do what we do, why the other people do what they do, how they dress, why they eat what they eat. And most important for me, for my kids, I tell them talk about love and the differences and diversity which we have. We are all unique and diverse in our own way, even within the African community, even within our own homes. When you are three brothers or three sisters, you're all different and uniquely modeled by God. And so those are the things I try and to make sure that I instill in my children and the children around me and the community around me, to make them understand that we are all diverse in our own special way. We are all from Kenya, but we are all different. As you can see, we are 5 women here, but we are diverse in our own way, you know?
Yes,
Yes. So the
very
kids,
true.
kids have to be educated that we are all unique, we are all special, but we are diverse, and we need to respect the diversity among us.
Okay, Miss Miruka, can you touch a little bit on that issue and how you deal with it even in church, like even when you're speaking to other children as well?
Well, yes, and I will actually reiterate on the point that I raised last week, that learning, the best time for child development is the early years. The early years of development, that is when the
Mhm.
children really um, learn the values that we are talking about. If they never learned those values growing up as young children, it is very difficult, for them as adults to unlearn what they may have learned that was wrong growing up. So my emphasis for parents, just like the other mothers have already said, is we have to keep teaching our children. We have to be intentional to teach them, telling them not to do the self-defeating. Don't give your children self-defeating stories. They're already dealing with
Yes.
that. They are already dealing with a lot of that out there. So be aware. Do not echo the sentiments, oh, I can't do it. We are the best example. Like one of my mothers has already said there. They emulate us. We are the best examples to our children. If you are working hard, trust me, your children are watching. Whatever you are doing, if you keep saying you are not good enough, you are calling them names, you can never amount to anything. Man, parents who say stuff like that to their children, they are already dealing with a lot of those self-defeating stories out there. Make it a purpose to reassure your children, lift their spirits, move them from the land of station and self-doubt, build their self-esteem, equip them. That is what we talked about last week. Equip them with this spirit of courage, standing up and the respect. First and foremost, the honor and respect to authority. If your children do not respect you at home, do not
Yeah.
expect them to respect anybody outside of your door. So however you are teaching your kids every morning how you are building your relationship with them, it is a revolving effect. That is how, when they step out of your household, that's how they relate with everybody else. So whatever you value, teach it to your children.
Okay.
Remove the self-defeating stories from your households. Empower your children.
And Mrs. Banda did speak on that last week, where she talked about telling them stories in a positive way. And Mrs. Ibanda,
Yes.
speaking about respect, which is I heard all the moms here allude to the fact of respect. Now, Mrs. Ibanda, I think you're the most well equipped because I've heard you speaking about it. When our children are growing here, they lose what we call respect. They lose their African way of even greeting, like what Miss Tate said, greeting a parent, a grown up with two hands. That doesn't happen. Or you find children just walking past adults, they don't even say hello, they walk away. Children who won't possibly engage in activities that have anything, or community activities with Africans, or eat even simple things like eating food that's African. You'll find some homes where it doesn't even happen at all, or even speaking in your mother tongue and stuff like that. Mrs. Ibanda, can you speak on all these things together?
Thank you. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think I mean, being part of this panel or this discussion has made me become even more observant, and I like using examples. There is an example. I was watching something on social media, and I look at this young man. He's playing at a park. A friend invites him. It's all white, and he's the
Mhm.
only black young man, African American. And then this lady stands up and says, young man, you're not supposed to be here. Get out of this place. So that young man says, yes, ma'am. He did not like maybe push back or try. He just says, yes, ma'am. And then he says, yes, ma'am. But she goes ahead and slaps him. The young man goes back home. He doesn't tell his parents on that day because there was death in the family. There were issues that were going on and everything. He knew everybody was, engaged to someone. He waits until the following day in the evening. Then he shared, he tells the story to the parents. We all know the police were called and things like that. And the interview with this young man, why didn't you retaliate?
Or say do
When
anything.
speak up, and you say she's chasing you away and you call your mom. She says, and this young man is 15 years old. He says, that's what my mother trained me to do.
Amen.
Wow. I address any elderly person as mom. To me, that young man at that moment was above this elderly woman. They switched places, so he became older than her. He became mature than her. That's not example number one. Example number two, some cousins of mine visit me. And then the wife says to the daughter, can you give me a glass of water? She brings a glass of water and she's handing the glass of water using her left hand. That's not African to me. I stopped her right there and there. I said, young lady, can we use your right hand and give mom the right way? The advantage that we had in Africa, I never raised my children on my own. My children were raised by a village. Aunties, grandmothers, even those people that I was not raised to my children. If they saw them doing anything wrong, they would discipline them in the manner I would discipline them, with a lot of love, not abuse them. So I think that is coming here, that we have taken that away. And hence you are faced with this task of raising and nurturing children alone. And sometimes it's something that you cannot fight and win. So I don't know how we can still embrace raising children as now we have so many families. We have the church family, we have our neighbors, some of them, we have our cliques, our groups, such as this one. Can't my children take advantage, or can you not be there to help me raise my children or my grandchildren? It's now each man for himself and God for us all. And for sure, this is not working. We need to go back.
Very true. I don't think it's working. And this is you just went right into the next discussion question that we had. If someone is saying something inappropriate or behaving in an inappropriate manner, or even an adult or a child regarding race or respect or whatever else we're speaking about, do you correct them, or do you or if a child is being racist or being disrespectful, do you then correct the child, even if it's not your own child? I personally, as a mother, I do the village, raise a child as a village mentality. My child is wrong, correct my child. And when my child comes to me, I'll be like, you did something wrong, and you better go apologize and think about what you did. However, there are parents who take it personal and end up retaliating against the person who corrected the child. How do each of you ladies deal with this situation? If a child is treated have racial injustice outside or disrespect outside of the home with their friends, or if your children do it, or if you see other people doing it, how do you work that out?
So for me, I would say this, and I like what Miss Rona said and everybody said there. I don't know I don't want to use this word, but I'm just respecting it, where we lost it. For example, you see other community, the Asian community, the Mexican community, or Hispanic, community, their children speak their language, do not speak any language. They follow their culture. So I don't know where we lost it, and we don't do what we're supposed to do as parents to educate our kids about our culture and about how we do our own things. Because this, whatever they're doing outside that, the kids are going to do what they find out there. But you as a mother, what are you doing in their house to help them, you know, learn your culture, be who they are, because culture is going to make them, build them who they are at the end of the day. You know, for people who are born here, that's fine. This is what they know and this is how they know it. But for us who came, you know, here and, you know, we have kids, it's important for you to give them that history, pass down some knowledge, pass down some love, let them have self-awareness, self-worth, self-esteem, knowing their culture very well so that they can be proud of who they are. And then coming back to the issue of behavior, for me personally, I redirect behavior. Researchers prove that you need to redirect behavior in order for the behavior to kind of go away or, you know, be curtailed. And why am I saying this? If somebody says inappropriate thing to my child or somebody around me, and me as an adult, I keep quiet, it's like I'm encouraging that to go on. My kid tomorrow will say the same thing. What am I going to say? Am I going to tell them to stop? You know, and yet yesterday Johnny said something bad to them or somebody and I did not say anything. So it's important for us to go back to the way we were raised up, per se, whereby everybody is accountable for everyone's behavior and act. And as parents, we should be able to allow our sisters and brothers and aunties and friends and communities to help us raise our children, because back home we had grandma, we had auntie, we had grandpa, we have uncle helping us to raise those children. So I should not feel bad if Miss Miruka or Miss Rona or Miss Tate or Bianca, you tell me, I saw your daughter and I don't think she's doing the right thing, and this is what I told her. I should not be mad because you are second eye to me. You are seeing what I cannot see. You are helping me. You are saving me from a problem about to come. So we should be able to be open enough, redirect behaviors. Anytime we see it, address it well and let them know what it is exactly. And what we should not do is, if your kid does something wrong, do not redirect them inappropriately in the public. They feel humiliated. They feel their self-esteem is undermined. They feel like you have really, really not shown them the love you need to show them. So you can wait and get with them at home and talk to them about it and tell them that's not right. And if there's a place they can go and apologize, tell them you need to go and apologize. And this is why you need to do that. Again, we need to model the behavior. What we teach our children now, child development begins when they're young. If we don't teach them now how to act or talk to other people out there, use appropriate language, they're going to do it throughout, and we cannot control it when they become 18 and above.
Very true. And as we are continuing with this topic, I just wanted to throw in a question here. And when you're answering the question, you can throw in your thoughts on this. Do we teach our children to avoid seeking self-worth from validation and external factors? Are we in this process, are we also teaching our children to avoid doing things so that people outside can love them more, can feel more accommodating to them? So
I think
let's keep going.
that could be also a cultural thing, because as Africans, we are not supposed to be kind of bragging or shouting about our achievements, you know. And so we need, as we are in this community, we know the community we are in. And some of us who are in the professional level, we know how it is in the office. If you do not open your mouth and say what you have done, nobody knows what you have done. And that means you have done nothing.
That's
So
right.
we need to let the kids be proud of what they have. Go out there, show it up. You know, let's support them with their talent, whatever they want to do. Yes, we want to have engineers in our houses. We want to have doctors. But if my daughter decides she's going to do ballet, let me support that and support the achievement that she's doing the ballet. Let them go out there and show what they can do, because the way they measure your ability and your capabilities and your intelligence is totally different from how we grew up knowing it. So we need to do that. Give them the self-worth. Tell them, hey, kudos, go out there and show what you have, what you can do, in an appropriate manner, of course.
Yes, because in this country, if you do not support your children's dreams, somebody else will. Somebody else will pick up the tab, like I say.
Exactly.
If you can't pay the tab, somebody else will pick up the tab and raise your kids for you. Yes, Mr. Banda. I think she's kind of muted up. Okay. Mr. Banda, we're having some trouble hearing you. I think you're on mute. Oh, there we go.
Oh, so I think, thank you. I was
Yeah.
put on mute. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
What I was saying, I wanted to go back to my thought, to my initial thought, to say, in order for you to be able, Bianca, to say to my daughter, if you see her or my granddaughter somewhere and she's not doing right, to be able to call her aside and say, honey, I think this is not right. It should not, your relationship should not have started on that day
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
that event. It
Mm-hmm.
means you had a relationship before. So in whichever setup, we find ourselves in, let's purposefully try to know each other and our families and our children.
Yeah.
When I say our children, I should not only know my children, I should know Lydia's children. I should have a chance to meet them. Maybe one day just call the lady, the young lady, and take her out in order for me just to know her. So that next time she's not doing right, sometimes it might not even come to Lydia. We can finish that issue, that just the two of us, and talk about it and finish it. And later on, she might come back and say, you know what, I was doing this, Aunt Rona said this to me, in a
Yes.
loving manner. I think what we are losing is that we call it Ubuntu, the Ubuntu, the
Ubuntu.
Bantu thing. We are losing it. Yes, we are losing that. And that was beautiful and it helped. I am telling you, raising children is not easy. We're still where our cultures are now so diverse. We are in this thing. We are also confused ourselves. At times, we don't even know what we want ourselves. So if we are confused, how do we raise these children with this confused mind? We need other people. We need each other.
Yes,
That's
that
all I
and that
wanted to add on that one.
yeah, and our confusion I think stems from us trying to belong. We're trying so hard to belong that we forget. So we're trying not to upset the other party, and we're trying to belong. And so, but I believe it has come to a point where we have to, because if you're raising a son, you know that it's dangerous enough for him to walk outside as a black boy. At that point, when he walks outside, nobody knows that he grew up in Africa. He's black. So when he steps out the door, all you got to do is pray. Now, if he's not raised by the village properly, or he cannot respect authority, as you were saying, then you have a problem. You have the girl child that you're raising, and she's going out there. There's pregnancy, there's disease, there's all sorts of things. Now, when we're speaking about this, if your child came to you today and they're grown, of course, when they're dating, they can date somebody from another race. If they decide now to get married to, number one, an American overall, all right, and then they go a step further and marry someone from a totally different race, how do you approach, even when they're dating, how do you moms, or even if your children haven't started dating, how are you going to approach that? Let alone, we have a problem where I'm from my country. In Kenya, we already have a problem where sometimes you can't date somebody from another tribe. So now we have tribalism and you have racism. Anyone can jump right in.
So I have children who are of dating age, and I think Dr. Ramoni does too. I think your daughter is in college as well, and Sister Rhoda has a grandbaby who's studying college soon, or is in college. So there's a lot of interesting stories that I can tell with how I've dealt with that with my children. But I think that for me as a mother, as a parent, the good news for me is I was raised in an environment where we didn't talk, we didn't, race tribalism was not cultivated in my home because we were raised in a Christian home, but we were also aware of the biases that came along with tribes and things like that. So I thank God that we didn't have that issue. So when my child comes to me and they're trying to date outside of my tribe, I'm very comfortable with that, as long as the woman or the young lady or the young man that's coming home has similar values. I think for me, values is what is important. Like, what are are you a person of faith? That's very important to me. And are you practicing those values that you have taught in your faith? I think for me, faith is a big part of it. Just to be very honest with you. And are you for me as an African mother, I want my future son or daughter-in-law to treat me and or speak to me a certain way. And so if the culture that this particular person is coming from has not taught them to respect me as a future mother-in-law, then yes, I'll have a problem with that. That's just the truth. Um, and if they don't know, if I'm still an African woman, I'm skin deep an African woman, so I still want my daughter's boyfriend or my son's girlfriend to know that this is mom.
Yeah.
You know, if they come home to say this is mom, this is, as I can't. There's some things that I can't do around her because she is my mom. So I don't have a problem with my kids dating outside of my race or my tribe. I want them to just have similar values.
Values.
Values is what's important to me.
Value system. I'm hearing from you. Value system. Okay. Anybody else can jump in. Miss Miruka, as a mother-in-law,
Wow, wow. I
as a
am
mother, a
happy.
potential mother-in-law.
I am tapping into the wisdom of these very able women here. That's why I'm like, that makes sense. That really makes sense. Um, well, again, values, values, values. That is where I'm stuck. How you want people to treat you is what you allow, is how you will have allowed them to treat you. I think demarcating those boundaries is very important. So I want to believe a child whom you have raised from day one all the way to a level of him or her making a decision for marriage, really knows who mom is, what mom stands for. It's not going to be at that point that is where they are factoring whom they are bringing to mom. I want to claim that. I want to claim that my child really knows where I come from, who I am, what my values are, and if I have to be a part of his life, that has to have a segment in his heart that this is mom. And if I have to, like I said, the relationship that you have established with your child, it has to be, you have to have that bond that you are so well connected that even before I speak, he will know. He will know mom has heard this even before I talk to him. And so that relationship, really, how you communicate with your child, I want to believe at that point they will be able to factor that, and whoever they are creating a relationship with, that component will be there. But I will not want to moderate. I will not want to moderate who is going to be in their life. But I will really want to echo that these values will be very important for me to be able to be a part of this life.
Wow. So those are very I just add up. These are very wise women talking here. So I don't have the experience. I only have the knowledge experience. So let me just talk about, yes, we need to have the faith, we need to have the values. And even the Bible says about the unyoked and yoked. So we need to install that. But when I go further in marriage and counseling, or marriage and relationships, what is that is bringing you guys together? Are you compatible? What do you like about this person? Forget about the skin or the tribe or where they come from or what they eat or how they dress. What is bringing you together? Does the person respect you? Does the person value you and value your system or value your culture, where you come from? Do they know where you come from? Do they know where your family comes from? So those are the things I would try to ask my daughter, when such a situation presents itself. Why do you like this person? What is that has made you to choose among 1 billion men to choose this man? What is there that you guys think you can grow all together? Because sometimes our kids are infatuated. They don't know what they want. They just fall in love and they think that's it. That's about it. So all that value, faith, and all that, but at the same time, why this man? Why not another person?
Yes. I agree. I agree totally. And I would like to see. I see Mrs. Sibanda has a has a pressing thought. She feels she's very passionate about this subject. Yes, Mrs. Sibanda.
Yeah, that's a very difficult you know subject to deal with, subject of marriage, who our children marry. And I have 3 adult children and 5 grandchildren, and as you rightly said, Lydia, most of them are already in that stage. They are at college level. We I start immediately they arrived in America when I started talking about marriage to them, and they were kind of like, one was like 15 and almost 16, and I had no chance because they were in Africa and I was here. But we started talking about marriage, and we started serious. Young men, what kind of a woman are you looking for? And then that's when I said, you know what, it's easier when you marry within not within your culture, but within your religion, and things like that. At least you have something common,
Yeah.
and these other things will fall in place as long as you have that basic, where you can agree on something. Especially matters of religion are a problem when it comes to marriage and things like that. So we speak about this. So maybe an encouragement to young mothers there, or mothers that have children who are dating, let it this be something that you talk about oftenly, something that not only when you see them dating, before they even start dating, before they when they push you away, when you start talking about it, they want to push away. Bring it in a playful manner, in a around the, you are playing a game or something, you talk about it. You are watching, maybe you talk about it and things like that, until it sinks in them. When you talk about it, and when they start dating, they will remember all those things. But I think I'll go back and agree with the person who spoke about values. We should never compromise on our values.
Yeah.
We can maybe meet halfway on other things, but when it comes to our core values, let's not compromise on them. But me, I will say, other people might not believe in what I believe in. To me, prayer is the key thing.
Yeah.
I can do all things through Christ. Prayer is the key thing. I pray. We talk about something, I pray for it. But other people have their own way of dealing with issues, maybe outside prayer. I don't know how. But for me, it's prayer. But my core values, I know them and I believe in them and I practice them. So when my children want to go in and marry whoever they want to marry, they should live with these core values with them.
Amen. That is a very powerful thought. Prayer is key, and the way a person treats you will and relates to you is also very important. And as we're coming to a close here, I mean, there's so many things that I would I would still like to ask, because I'm the youngest of of all the moms who are here, and I'm really learning a lot because mine's only 6. I'm only just beginning the journey, and discipline is one thing. I think we kind of touched on it, but it's one thing that hopefully I will be able to relate with his ladies again. And discipline has been an important thing to me, because growing up back home, I was raised differently in discipline, and it's something that I have to tackle in my day-to-day life, on how to discipline a child in this country. Very interesting and tough. And before we sign off here, I would like a last thought from each of you ladies, on how do we, because you've been asking this question, we've lost our way. I heard we've lost our way. We're not the way we used to be. And the feeling is you want it to go back to the way it is. What do you think is the way forward? What do we do? What can we do in our communities? Last thought from anybody, or what appeal would you have to mothers out there? Because moms make a difference in a family. We have the strongest voice.
I think we need to have a strong bond. We need to go out there and embrace each other. We need to talk about our core values. And what I mean by that is let's expose ourselves out there. Let's be vulnerable. Let our kids know who is who in the community of wherever we are from. Because you come to realize sometimes the kids get in love, they fall in love and they realize they are cousins, and then you say, oh, you cannot get married. So let us go ahead and introduce our children to our communities, expose them. Let us have those parties, gatherings, whatever it is, celebration together, and become a community which is self-organizing, helping one another, educating our children. So we have aunties, grandma, mothers, uncles, all of them coming together to be able to come back to where what we've left behind, and just put up those core values.
Um, Let me jump in there. As a mother who has kids that were born in Kenya and are being raised here, I will agree there are values that we need to let go as African parents, and also there are values that we need to learn, and the how, just like we have to be intentional. That has been big time for me. We have to create these avenues, these platforms where we have our children, especially those that have been able to grow here, educate us as parents, educate the rest of our children on the how, on some of these traditions. Those of us who were raised in communities where our anxieties were suppressed, in terms of what Bianca is talking about, the disciplinary measures that were in place, left many of us with very much suppressed anxiety. And this one can lead to chronic pain throughout life. Some of those measures, those ones can be dealt away with. So again, we can narrow this to personal, your personal household, however, you relate with your children. If you are able to have a conversation of things that you don't like, I think that one is the most valuable one. When you have a conversation, you let them understand. But in anything and everything that you do in terms of raising your children, model it yourself as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
Model it yourself. Echo it and nurture it in your children. The results will be long term. Honestly, like the Bible says, teach them the how. And when they will have grown old, they will not depart from it. I am a believer and I run with that one.
I think
For me,
that,
Yes.
go ahead.
Oh, I think that it's important for us, even as parents, to be to work on being self-aware. I mean, because uh, we still have a lot of biases from home and things that may not necessarily be very healthy for our children who either are born here or are growing up in this country. So, I would challenge parents out there, try this and see what growth comes out of the relationship that you have with your children. Just talk to them and ask them some questions about some of the conversations that we've had here, and let them educate you on some of these issues. I mean, you don't have to embrace all of them, but they're full of knowledge and full of ideas or things that we've never even thought about. If you have adult children like mine, and you talk to them, you pick up a lot of good information that make you a better person. So try that as well. And even the young ones, like Bianca's daughter, who's very intelligent, have these conversations with them and see where their perspective of these things as you guide them. But keep that self-identity. Your authenticity must remain intact, because that is part of what your value is about for your family and for people around you.
Thank you, Miss
For
Stace
me,
and
in a second,
Miss
I will
Ivan.
say, I will say, I'll say we all have a duty, all of us, whether you have young children or you have grown-up children, we all have a duty. You are here for a purpose, and your purpose is to educate, your purpose is to love, your purpose is to show and share that love. And I think I made a vow when I was young, we were made, I went through this program called Pathfinders. I'll be a servant of God, a friend to men, and I live to that. Be a friend to men and be a servant of God. We are all sent and we have a mission.
Thank you very much, ladies. I'm sorry about that. Thank you very much, ladies. And I thank you. I have learned a lot, and I'm praying that we will have this again. It's very empowering and very enriching. And of course, the world we live in, frankly speaking, is not fair. It's never going to be fair. Our children will face injustices. Those are never going to happen. Racism they'll face in their lifetime. But it's our duty as women to go ahead and grasp the wheel and steer and arm our families with our strong cultural core values. So let's go ahead and rebuild our village one family brick at a time. I think that's the only call that we can answer to, and explore relationships with intentional. And ladies, I heard you say, let's intentionally go out there and interact within our community so our children will be able to be raised with the village as a community mentality. Thank you very much, ladies, and I thank each and every one of you. Have a blessed week, and we will see you again. And please be safe out there and be intentional in your practices. I'll hand it over to Miss Wilda Black. Thank you. I'm not sure where Miss Wilda is, but we'll wait for her to come in. She isn't here yet. I'm not sure where she went.
We can continue
And
the conversation.
I know, right? Yeah, she's somewhere else, but I hope we'll meet and talk again, ladies, because I want to explore the idea of discipline and the idea of for me, I'm very lucky. Miss Tate and Miss Wilda Black have helped me raise my child. My child is raised by a village, literally. So I've been blessed to have older. I've been blessed, and if you're a mom out there and you're a younger mom, or even if you're an older mom, don't hesitate to ask for help. I even send my child away to her beautiful aunties and her mommy Wilda, because that way she is able to learn. I can't teach her everything, and I may end up spoiling her, not teach her anything. So do that. Be intentional in reaching out to your fellow moms who have older children and who have more experience. It never hurts.
All right. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today. And as Mr. Banda said, we have a duty, we have a purpose to our children. Let's appreciate our children. Let's acknowledge them daily. Make it a purpose. And we agreed also that we need to teach our children to avoid seeking self-worth from and validation from external factors out there. So until next week, we shall tackle another topic in regards to race and social justice. But before we leave, I would like to bring back Dr. Ramoni and Sophia Miruka. Dr. Ramoni has actually written a book in regards to the legacy of an immigrant woman. Do you want to tell us more about the book, Ms. Ramoni, so everybody can know what it's all about and encourage people to read it?
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Black and Bianca, for giving me this opportunity. So my book, The Legacy of Immigrant Woman, was birthed by my own experience coming to the US. And I thought it's a good guide for any woman or any man who is an immigrant in this country, regardless of where you come from, to be able to give you some guides and some tidbits or nuggets on how you can be able to accomplish some of these things which we think as unaccomplishable. And so the legacy of an immigrant woman talks about my journey. It's my story. I talk about my journey from the day I landed in the US to the time I completed my doctorate degree, and how I went through it. What are the facilities I went through, what are the skills I gained, and how I was able to accomplish my goal. Because some of us think like, going to school is very expensive and is hard. Yes, it is. But when you're focused, you have to be intentional in whatever you want to do. Be intentional in doing stuff so that you can be able to achieve your goal. I was intentional, and from the day, long time ago, if you read my book, you realize I have had this dream of finishing my doctorate. And so when I came to the US, I already had a master's in finance, but I had to go back and then do another master's. As you, most of you know, they'll tell you your degree is this or the other, and I didn't want to waste more time. So I decided, you know what, I can do this thing. And in 18 months, I was done with my master's level, and I was admitted in the doctorate program. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that this thing is doable. Just you need to find the right avenues, the right people around you. Do not stick with people who don't have a purpose or are not in the same trajectory with you, because they're going to derail you. And so I also talk about how you can get funding from your work, from the school, from the government, from wherever you can. There's money out there which is available for you to go to school. You just need to know how to find it. And when you register to school, please raise our flag high. Be the best you can be the best student you can be out there. There's grants for you there, but at the same time, you're raising our name out there for the next person who comes along. And so my book is just giving you guidelines and just encouraging you how you can manage your school, manage your family, go through stuff with your family when you're going to school, because it's not easy, especially in marriage, spouses, children. It's not easy, but I thank God that I had a family which gave me a lot of support, especially my daughters. I worked all over with them. We were in every classroom, in every library, in every conference with them, and there was that support. And so I'm here. I will encourage everybody, if you have that goal or you want to pursue education, please go for it. Let nobody tell you otherwise. That's your goal, and that's your story, and that's your business. So you just do your business. Let them also do their own business. I'm here. If you want any help, if you want any guidance, please reach out. I'm always here to help. I'm serving the community, and I can be able to help you reach out some of your goals or help you out find a path to your goal. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ramoni. Next, I have Miss Sophie, who is actually the founder and CEO of Sustain Hope. Would you like to let the viewers know what Sustain Hope is all about and what you're doing out there in the community to help other children?
Thank you, Wilda. Well, I listened to Doctor there, and congratulations for holding our name high in this community. And everything that we have been talking about actually is tied towards what my inspiration was to start the organization Sustain Hope, which brings together women of African descent. And we chose to do it to have a platform where we talk matters that affect us, just like we have had this conversation. And in that coming together, our unity of purpose, we do put some funds together and help those girls back home who perform very well and are unable to go to school. It was founded in the year 2017, and up to now we have 9 girls in high school. We sponsor them go to high school, and we pay their tuition, a whole year tuition, and follow up with them, mentorship and all that stuff, to make sure that their dreams are not being shattered because of lacking funds to acquire an education. So if you wish to learn some more about Sustain Hope, you can reach out to me, and we can join hands. We can impact our communities for the better of tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, Miss Sophie. Where do we get the book, Miss Ramoni, and what is the website, Miss Miruka, for Sustain Hope?
Sometimes when I talk, I tend to forget so many things. So my book is in Amazon. You can get the ebook. You can get the hard copy. I'm trying to do what do you call that? Voiceover book. What is it called? I don't remember it. So I'm trying to do the The one you
Audiobook?
the audiobook.
An audiobook?
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, audiobook. It will come out soon, and so there's my book. You can go there, get it. And if you're around Dallas for now, I know we have COVID, but I can always avail myself to sign a copy for you. But after COVID, some of us go out of town, and so we can organize on how we can get your book signed to you. But that's the book there. Please, guys, everybody has a purpose on this world. You have your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Pursue your purpose. Just go there and do what you need to do. Do your business. God brought you here for some reason. We are still alive today. COVID happened and we are still here. There are many who have departed. So God is not done with us. Do what you can do. Help somebody. Be a legacy. Leave a legacy behind there. Let us talk about you when you're gone in a nice way. That's what I can say for now. But just be purposeful person on this world.
Thank you, Miss Ramoni, Dr. Ramoni, and Miss Miruka. What's your website? How do we, if we need to help out with Sustain Hope, how do we get hold of you?
We have our Sustain Hope page. You can visit us on Facebook Sustain Hope. And you can also reach out on the number 214-602-2009. And our email address is also sustainhope.sacco@gmail.com.
All right. Thank you, ladies, so much for coming through. I know Miss Lydia, if she's on, she's also a financial consultant that can also assist you in so many ways. Miss Sibanda, she's also a community leader and a spiritual leader that can assist you in other ways that you need. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. I will see you in our next show. See you next week, and it's bye from us.